This is Sarnia Lambton Daily for Monday, March 23rd. Good evening, I'm Terry Doyle. Sarnia Lambton Daily is a new program here on your TV that we're going to be bringing you every day during the pandemic at this time to talk about what's going on in and around the region, keeping you up to speed on new information, things you want to watch out for in terms of services available and not available, and ways to stay safe. You'll hear from the politicians, service organizations, and just regular people in and around Sarnia Lambton. We're also looking for those good news stories, people that have been impacted but also helping out and being able to help others around the community. We want to make this your show, and certainly being able to bring you what is going on to affect you locally. You certainly get a chance to hear from the people at the federal and the national level. This, we emphasize, is Sarnia Lambton Daily. Let's go to Sarnia City Hall now, where Mayor Mike Bradley joins us. And Mayor Bradley, I know it's been a very busy time. Mike, give us an update. First of all, what's gone on today? Because I understand there was a quick Sarnia City Council meeting to push things forward, but bring us up to speed on that.
Well, Terry, first of all, thank you to your TV and yourself for doing this. I think this is helpful. The more we communicate with the public, the better it is for everyone. We had a very brief meeting with Council, a teleconference. Last week, the power was given to us by the province during the emergency for a council to teleconference and to have votes that would be legal and binding. So today was just a test to do the protocol, get that passed, and on Wednesday at 10:30 we will have a council meeting. It will be a very condensed council meeting. It will deal with the very urgent business of the city, most of it related to the emergency and some of the things we need to get done right now, and some time-sensitive issues that we just can't wait till things return back to normal. So it was good to go through the test. It is difficult, I can tell you, Terry, as chair, to try to run a meeting where you can't see the people and you're trying to keep order. And I will say council was very, very good, very cooperative, and they understand this is extraordinary circumstances.
Yes, and I guess for you being in this role for more than 30 years, I'm sure you're digging a little deeper into the playbook than you normally would.
Well, that's a very astute observation, Terry. I've been through recessions, I've been through emergencies in the community, but never have we had this. We have a medical crisis and an economic crisis. And part of the package on Wednesday will be dealing with how we can give some relief to those out there paying property taxes, water bills, etc. But you know, it's very hard to grasp what's happened. If we were talking a week ago, Terry, you know, life was reasonably normal. But what's happened this past week with thousands of people being laid off in Sarnia Lambton, the concern about people coming back from other places, it's accelerated and it's changing by the hour. I go through 2 conference calls every day. One at 9 o'clock with the city primary control group, which is fire, police, myself, the city manager, and others, to talk about the last 24 hours and what was coming down in the next 24 hours. A lot of this is out of our control because of the federal provincial government are making announcements fairly often. And then at 10 o'clock, all of Lambton County comes in on a call to talk about what's happening in the greater area. And it's constant that we're continually by the hour looking at issues. And it can range from this past weekend, people were asking about the farmers market and why was it open? Well, it is a grocery store. We just ask people to distance themselves. That's all we're asking at this point. And the same with other issues that have popped up. We're asking parents, don't take your kids on the playground equipment. We can't stop that unless we fence them off, and that would be impractical across the city. So we're constantly getting issues, and that's what we're dealing with on an hourly basis.
And I guess that's the challenge because, for example, with Sarnia Transit, making it, of course, people enter at the back of the bus. You want to keep the buses moving, but that fine line to get people around who need to get around is essential services, but at the same time, keeping everybody safe.
It is, and our ridership had dropped by 50%. And so we've moved it to free. And part of this also with the back door exit entrance is because of the drivers. The drivers need to be protected too. But it is a fundamental service. Many of the people that use transit could not survive in their workplace or in their daily lives without it. And I hope that no matter what happens, we can continue to offer it.
As we continue on, obviously you said you meet with the emergency group every day. I'm sure over the years you've sort of had, I'll call it mock emergencies, and obviously preparing for any sort of things. I've got to think at least, some of those things you went through preparations, through annual meetings and annual situations have at least helped, I'm sure, even in the communication of going through an emergency like this.
Yes, and that's what it's all about, right? Communication, communication, communication. I use my own social media. The city's using its. I will say, because we do go through one emergency training exercise every year, we were fortunate. Within the last year, guess what we picked as an emergency in the community, and it was a pandemic. And how will we respond to it? And one of the things that's overlooked, I'm very proud of our primary control group, which, along with the emergency service and our senior management team, is Sarnia didn't have to get up to speed to deal with an emergency. We practice, I'll give an example from last year. We had the Imperial Oil Tower collapse. Then we had a major train derailment in the CN tunnel. And that's what the primary control group does. And we know how to communicate. We have some excellent technology in the community to communicate with people through MyCNN. And that's free for the public to sign up with. And we're trying to use that now in this emergency. So we are well positioned, as well as you can, dealing with the fact that so much that is going on right now is outside of our control, that we are doing what we can to reassure the community, do the things that we can at the local level, but knowing that we're very much like a bobbing in the ocean, like a little cork, given what's happening around the world.
You're joining us from your office at Sarnia City Hall. Fill us in. I know obviously this building's closed to the public, as normally, of course, it would be a pretty busy spot all day, but what's sort of going on behind the scenes in terms of, I would think, some people working from home, some people, essential people, have to probably keep in the loop as well. What's sort of the lay of the land right now downtown?
Well, Terry, the building is closed, but we're still here for service. The staff are in here, and we're dealing with different things that need to be, everything from death certificates to dog tags. And those are the type of day-to-day activities that can keep normalcy in people's lives, because that's what we need to try to do as much as possible without getting people infected. We are looking at our protocols as they relate to our employees out there in the city, but we need public works out there. Fire and police, you don't even debate that. And it's a whole different world we're operating in. But the city hall itself is functioning the way it should to continue to serve the public online. And if someone needs something out of the building, we've set up a way of dealing with that if they come to the front of the building and notify us ahead of time. But again, it comes down to, we're asking people, if you don't have to come here, please don't do so. But we will try to help you if there's a problem that needs to be solved.
You're someone that always encouraged very open communication, very, you hear from the public a lot. What are you hearing just from the average person as how they're handling this? Well,
Terry, I'm probably not exaggerating. I'm getting a couple hundred emails a day. One of the, being on social media, you get comments. My social media is set up, I don't comment directly. There is an email to contact me and a phone number. I deal with a lot of rumors. I do try to tell people, just because it's on Facebook doesn't mean it's true or correct, and to qualify that, and also refer people continually to the Lambton Public Health website and to the city website. We put our media updates out there every day, but we try to stay away from speculation and rumor. There have been no test cases proven here in Sarnia Lambton, but we know the virus is in the area, and it's only a matter of time. And we're preparing ourselves for that. But the reality is that we try to keep as much normalcy as possible, but at the same time prepare us for when those first test cases come forward, that there will be apprehension in the community. Social media has a lot of value to it when you're talking about hearing from people, and a lot of the good things that come into me, I will bend forward to the primary control group and the senior management for discussion at our 9 o'clock meetings, because there's good suggestions that come in from the public or concerns, so it gives us a good sense of what's actually happening in the city.
One thing I noticed that came out over the weekend was a notice just to everyone, people wanting to maybe volunteer to help out, where right now it's stay safe and maybe keep your social distancing. I guess it shows the community spirit that we have here in Sarnia Lambton, that people want to do something, even though right now, just hold on.
Well, Terry, that's a really good example. That discussion with the emergency group came about because a citizen emailed me on Saturday morning saying, what can I do to help? And how do I volunteer? It would be very difficult, so we should go join a service club, because that takes a little while, and I'm not sure exactly what all their roles are going to be. So we had a really good discussion at the emergency primary control group on Saturday and Sunday morning how can we do this? That's why that release came out, because we're saying right now we're okay on the volunteer side, but people should take care of themselves first. And if you can shelter in place, self-isolate, you're doing us a much bigger favor right now than volunteering, because we believe that the people that need help right now are being addressed through different organizations. And I understand you have the Lambton Elderly Outreach with Bill Yurchuk on the show today too. And they're doing an outstanding job if you look at what they're continuing to do during this crisis. And so we're saying to volunteers right now, please hold back. We may need you at some point, but let's just put it on hold. Take care of yourself first, and then if we need you, we'll come to you.
Well, Mayor Bradley, Mike, we appreciate you giving us a few minutes of your time. I know lots of conference calls, but we'll be checking back with you on a regular basis as Sarnia Lambton continues to deal with this.
Anytime, Terry. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. That is Mayor Mike Bradley joining us from Sarnia City Hall. Stay tuned. More to come on Sarnia Lambton Daily here on your TV. Welcome back to Sarnia Lambton Daily here on your TV. I'm Terry Doyle. As we know, as this pandemic goes on, it affects many people across our community. With more, let's go to Wyoming now, where Bill Yurchuk from Lambton Elderly Outreach joins us now. And Bill, I know you deal with a large percentage of the population, of course, the older demographic just in the name, but I'm sure you hear from everyone. Just fill us in right now. How are things going right now?
Sure, we're strong, of course, have all the same concerns that everyone else does in the community with regards to proper physical distancing and so forth, but our essential services are still carrying on. We've been deemed to be essential services, so our transportation department is still transporting clients to, dialysis and medical situations like that. We are still providing Meals on Wheels all across the county, both frozen and hot. So that is, of course, very important right now for those who are, isolated and homebound. Our personal support workers are very, very busy. We do work with the community on a fee-for-service basis, so people who hire us privately, but then also we do a lot of LHIN-funded work. So actually the LHINs are now Ontario Health, and we're connected to Ontario West, so LHIN should be transferred to Ontario West in everyone's mind. But so we do a lot of Ontario West work with regards to that on a funded basis. So we're very active in that way. Our crisis intervention. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to ask, Bill, was it almost a case as we got into this, a little bit of, I'll say, retraining for everyone of doing a lot of the same services, but now factoring in physical and social distancing?
Yeah, I think so. A lot of our personal support workers, cannot comply to the social distancing. But what we are doing is we're contacting all of our clients the day before each service and going through a screener that has been approved by the Ministry of Health and Long-Term Care. And that screener is actually constantly changing. It changed again today. And that incorporates the questions about, if you've traveled out of the country and things like that. So, and then we make sure that, they don't have any symptoms and so forth. And then, our clients, as you can appreciate, are very, very vulnerable, a lot of them. So our personal support workers, have to help them get through their day regardless of this. So we're, following proper personal protective equipment, PPE equipment, and, everyone's being as safe as they can. On a vehicle basis, we're making sure, of course, the vehicles are wiped down consistently and constantly all day long. Our driver, and again, all those clients also have been screened. So, we're just doing our best, but making sure that we're still taking care of our vulnerable population,
And I've got to think that's the thing, without being able to maintain this service, these are people in some cases where Meals on Wheels or other things, that's the only necessarily maybe outreach they would get without these services. I think, we're putting essential in capital letters here.
Absolutely, absolutely. And also through our home support department, we're doing grocery shopping for clients too. So if, they're housebound and they can't get out or choose not to get out, we can provide that service as well. For example, we bring 18 or 20 people to London to dialysis 3 days a week. So we're literally traveling to London 6 days a week to bring clients to dialysis. Of course, that's life-saving. So, we're almost business as usual. Many of our staff are working from home. Some are still here in the office. Our non-essential services have been suspended for now, like Diners Club and fitness classes, things like that. But, we're here to serve, and we've let the city know, and we've let the hospitals know, and we're interacting with the hospital and the LHIN Ontario West like several times a day, and kind of at their, at their mercy for availability.
Has this been an evolving situation as well, where maybe go back a week from today versus today in terms of even the guidelines and what things people should and shouldn't be doing? Have you found that's a case where communication, I would think, among yourself, the staff, and everyone involved has been huge?
Yeah, it changes. I can't even say it changes daily. It changes more often than that. So quite literally, something that was correct yesterday might not be correct today. And, sometimes that's hard to handle because you feel that, your integrity is in question, or, well, that's not what you told me yesterday. And, but that's just a reality and something that changes this quickly. The ministry is being very good and very proactive, and the government with regards to getting messaging out. Not everyone may agree with their messaging, but, it's in the best interest of the community, such as physical distancing and isolation. I honestly don't think people are taking that seriously enough, and they really have to keep, vulnerable people safe. It may not be the one that you're worried about, but it could be someone else that is so easily transmitted to.
What are you hearing, and I guess what is the staff hearing, just in terms of the mood of the people? Because I'm sure people, especially vulnerable and the older demographic, obviously there's a worry of what's been going on right now. How do you find, if you were to gauge the mood of people?
I would really say it's split, Terry, because there is a large population that are very worried. There's another large population that aren't worried at all, only because they're doing what they're told. They're staying at home and so forth. And then I will say there's also a large population that are in denial, and they're choosing to not, physical distance. And I say physical distance, you say social distance, because people still need social, they need Facebook Facebook and FaceTime and texts. So we're trying to use physical distancing just to almost a mental health component. But some people are really denying that, and they, it's my right to go here and go there. They haven't, banned us yet. Well, no, they haven't. But you have to be responsible, because that's how it's transitioning from person to person. And I just feel that people aren't taking it seriously enough.
As you go through something like a Meals on Wheels situation, we're hearing it where, for example, I would think, if you can, would someone maybe get a delivery to the front doorstep? If that's, if their mobility will get them to the front doorstep, and then do that, where maybe before, I guess, a driver might step in and help like that. I've got to think there's those physical distancing factors, but at the end of the day, get the job done.
Absolutely. If the client is able to do that, we're leaving them on the front step or even just inside the front door. But again, there are clients that don't have that that accessibility. So we're asking them to go to a different part of their home, say, move into the bedroom, and allow us to, come in, put the meals in the freezer. They're wearing gloves and proper PPE and things like that. And then when we leave, then, they can carry about their day. So again, that comes down to physical distancing.
Where do we go from here? What sort of the challenges do you find, or is it just sort of the challenge is keeping things going as usual right now?
I think, respect each other and love each other. And what I mean by that is, maintain physical distancing, self-isolate if you're having any symptoms whatsoever, even if they're cold symptoms, because, we don't want to pass someone on even a cold, because then their immune system is vulnerable, so that if they do, come in contact with the virus, then they're that much more vulnerable. So I just think we keep listening to the messaging. Please continue to be responsible, and leave your home when necessary, grocery stores and drugstores, things like that, of course. And when you're there, be responsible and be smart about it, and be with your families. This is really a unique opportunity to spend some personal time with family in your own home. I mean, your own personal family. I don't mean visiting. And we just have to storm through it. And once we get through it, it'll be that much better. Otherwise, we run into issues, say like Italy, for example. I don't know how serious they took it initially, and they're in a terrible way. We can't get that way. We just can't allow ourselves to get that far.
For people not aware, give us sort of the swath of the region that Lambton Elderly Outreach covers.
So we take care of Sarnia Lambton, and also moving into Chatham-Kent on a personal support way, like through the Ontario West funded services. So we're covering the entire county, right? All the way through up north into Grand Bend and so forth, and now, like I say, into Chatham-Kent. So Walpole Island's a part of that, of course. It's kind of on the border between us and Chatham-Kent, but we provide service there. Our transportation department is very busy in doing that. Red Cross has suspended some of their transportation services, so we've picked that up for them. I've made an offer out to our First Nations communities that if they require, any transportation or Meals on Wheels assistance, that we're there for them. let the mayor know this morning so he can make sure his team's aware of that. And of course, the hospital and the LHIN or Ontario West, they're very well aware of what we're providing.
One thing, of course, we're seeing right now is fundraisers, Bill. I was just going to say, Bill, one thing is we're seeing fundraisers, of course. That's something that's on hold. You've got a car raffle that's been going on for a while and going to continue on. I've got a lot of time on that, but are you finding that's maybe one of the things down the road we're going to see is the challenges? You talk about sort of funding through health organizations, but some of that local funding might be a little bit of a challenge where people, if they can, whether now or keep an eye on it down the road, where there's going to be some help needed.
Absolutely, especially if you can. That's greatly appreciated. For example, I know I talked to Miles yesterday or the day before on a call from the Inn of the Good Shepherd, and a couple of his major fundraisers can no longer happen now, like the one in the mall that they do with the cans. So, I highly encourage people to assist, like the Inn and River City, Women's Interval Home, places like that will definitely have vulnerable populations on hand that rely on those types of fundraisers. Yes, we certainly still have our truck fundraiser, which I appreciate you mentioning, but there's just a lot of people in need right now. We are responsible through our retirement home support program, we call it. We're actually discharging people from the hospital into retirement homes who are in the hospital and homeless. So as a result of that, we're buying toiletries like, soap and shampoo and toothbrushes, things like that. So I posted the other day in social media, and we've had some people donate some funds to allow us purchase toiletries for people, because literally they're being discharged from the hospital with nowhere to go. So we can put them into our retirement home program on a very limited basis, of course, based on funding. But I've been, purchasing at dollar store for that very reason.
Before we let you go, how can people or help Lambton Elderly Outreach right now? We talk about, of course, physical distancing, but in particular, if someone's watching right now and says they'd like to help, is there anything they can do right now?
Well, certainly, small amount donations are great for the toiletries that we require for these discharges. We still do have our truck, tickets for sale, but I would really also encourage considering helping out places like the Inn of the Good Shepherd and River City with donations or food, however you can do that. Just however people feel they can help in poignant ways would be really appreciated across the community.
Bill Yurchuk, Lambton Elderly Outreach, we appreciate you joining us here, and everyone stay safe and keep doing the great work you're doing.
Thanks, Terry. Thanks for what you do.
There's Bill Yurchuk from Lambton Elderly Outreach. Stay tuned, more to come here on Sarnia Lambton Daily on your TV. Before we go tonight on Sarnia Lambton Daily, a few notes to pass along. First of all, as you heard earlier in the show, Sarnia City Council met earlier here on Monday to pass a motion to change the procedural bylaws so they can meet virtually. They're going to have a regular meeting of Sarnia City Council coming up on Wednesday beginning at 10:30 a.m. City councilors will be calling in. We will broadcast that meeting live here on your TV. That's coming up Wednesday, 10:30, Sarnia City Council meeting during the pandemic. Reminder from the City of Sarnia, and also this applies to anywhere throughout the area. Reminder for children to stay off playground equipment. Go out to the park is one thing, of course maintaining physical distancing, but that playground equipment is not sterilized, so it can definitely be at risk with various people using it, so please stay off the playground equipment. If you're back from vacation, well, welcome back to snow today, but the important thing, stay inside. Need to self-quarantine for 14 days. It's not a trip to the grocery store. It's a case of staying inside, self-quarantining for those 14 days, coming back from vacation, very important. Also want to remind you, you can see Sarnia Lambton Daily every day here on your TV during the pandemic, beginning at 6 o'clock. We're also going to bring you the show at 7 p.m. every night on the Your TV Sarnia Facebook page. I want to keep you in mind on that as we're keeping you informed on what's going on in Sarnia Lambton. For Sarnia Lambton Daily, I'm Terry Doyle. We'll see you tomorrow.